What if one decision could change the fate of the world? Welcome to AnimeFanTheory. Today, we're diving into Avatar, Flames of Balance, an original fanfiction inspired by Avatar, The Last Airbender. If you enjoy epic adventures, powerful character moments, and stories that explore what-if scenarios, you're in the right place. Now sit back, relax, and let's begin. Avatar, Flames of Balance Book 1. Embers Part 1 The Hunt. Some fires destroyed, others illuminate. The hardest part is knowing the difference. The war has reached every corner of the Earth Kingdom. Villages burn, families flee, and hope grows thinner with every passing day. The Avatar searches for allies while carrying the impossible burden of ending a century of conflict. Far behind him rides Princess Azula. To the world, she is the Fire Nation's perfect weapon, brilliant, ruthless, and utterly loyal to Fire Lord Ozai. Neither of them knows that an ancient disturbance in the spirit world has begun awakening beneath the mountains, one that will force two enemies to walk the same path before the night is over. Chapter 1 Blue Fire, Gray Sky. The chapter opens peacefully as Team Avatar flies over the Earth Kingdom at sunrise. For the first time in weeks, they have a quiet morning, giving readers a chance to enjoy the group's friendship. Sokka complains about never getting enough sleep, Toph teases him relentlessly, and Katara notices that Aang seems unusually thoughtful. As they fly over villages scarred by the war, Aang reflects on how many people expect him to save them. He watches farmers trying to rebuild burned homes and children playing despite the danger. Their resilience inspires him, but it also deepens the weight he feels as the Avatar. He wonders privately whether he is truly ready to face the Fire Lord. The story then shifts to Azula's perspective. Rather than simply following Appa's tracks, she demonstrates why she is feared throughout the Fire Nation. She studies maps, predicts Aang's likely route based on his past behavior, and explains her reasoning to Mai and Ty Lee. Azula understands that the Avatar consistently chooses paths that keep him close to civilians in need. To her, compassion has become another pattern to exploit. Mai questions whether chasing the Avatar through remote mountains is worth the effort. Ty Lee keeps the mood light, joking about the rough terrain and hoping today's mission will end without anyone getting hurt. Azula dismisses the conversation. Failure is not an option. Eventually, the two groups converge in Black Pine Valley. Azula launches the first attack with precise blasts of blue fire that force Appa into evasive maneuvers. A fast-paced battle unfolds through the canyon. Aang refuses to counterattack, focusing instead on protecting his friends and avoiding Azula's increasingly clever tactics. Their duel becomes almost like a dance, with Aang flowing around Azula's aggression, while Azula steadily closes every avenue of escape. Then something changes. The mountain begins to awaken. The wind disappears. Birdsong ceases. Ancient symbols hidden beneath moss begin glowing faintly across the canyon walls. Neither Aang nor Azula notices them at first as the battle continues. The final exchange sends powerful vibrations through the canyon floor. The entire mountain trembles. A brilliant pillar of emerald light erupts from the forest below. Before Team Avatar, Mai, or Ty Lee can react, both Aang and Azula are consumed by the light and vanish. The chapter ends with everyone staring in stunned silence as the mysterious glow fades, leaving no trace of either combatant. Chapter 2 A Promise to a Monk. Aang awakens alone in an unfamiliar forest unlike anything he has ever seen. The spirit world feels simultaneously beautiful and unsettling. Rivers flow upward. Trees whisper in forgotten languages. Tiny spirits watch him from glowing branches, but disappear whenever he approaches. The deeper Aang travels, the more the forest responds to his emotions. Whenever he feels fear, the mist thickens. When he calms himself through meditation, hidden paths appear among the ancient trees. Eventually, he discovers the ruins of an impossibly old air, nomad sanctuary. Prayer wheels carved from jade continue turning despite the complete absence of wind. Inside waits an elderly heir, nomad monk whose spirit has guarded this sacred place for centuries. He explains that before the four nations existed, this forest served as neutral ground where humans and spirits met in harmony. The monk warns Aang that the spirit world reflects the hearts of those who walk within it. Violence will awaken dangerous forces that have slept for generations. Before fading back into the forest, the monk asks Aang for a single promise. Restore balance before you seek escape. Elsewhere, Azula awakens in another part of the spirit world. Unlike Aang, she is greeted not by peaceful spirits, but by silence. Every path she chooses eventually loops back to where she began. Every attempt to force her way through the forest with fire bending causes the trees themselves to move. For the first time in years, Princess Azula finds herself facing an opponent she cannot intimidate or outthink. Chapter 3: The Princess's Mask. Separated from Aang, Azula ventures deeper into the spirit world in search of an exit. Instead, she finds memories. The forest begins showing her fragments of her childhood, not exactly as they happened, but as they were experienced emotionally. She watches herself training beneath Fire Lord Ozai's cold gaze, desperately seeking approval that never truly comes. Every success is met not with praise, but with higher expectations. Every mistake is remembered forever. She catches fleeting glimpses of Ursa smiling at Zuko, of Lu Ten laughing with Uncle Iroh before the war changed him, and of a younger version of herself who once laughed freely before learning that perfection was the only path to survival. Azula rejects every vision as manipulation. Her anger causes the forest to darken. Meanwhile, Aang experiences his own memories. He walks through the Southern Air Temple exactly as it existed before the genocide. Children race across the bridges. Sky bison calves tumble through fields. Monk Gyatso smiles from a distant courtyard. When Aang reaches him, the vision dissolves into drifting feathers. The loss feels fresh all over again. As evening approaches, the two finally cross paths. Neither is happy to see the other, but neither has found a way home. Reluctantly, they agree to travel together until they discover an exit. The chapter ends with them setting out into the glowing forest, separated by only a few feet, yet divided by an entire lifetime of opposing beliefs. Chapter 4: Campfire Without Nations. Night falls over the spirit world. Unlike the physical world, darkness does not hide danger. Instead, the forest begins glowing. Flowers bloom beneath every footstep. Fireflies the size of hummingbirds drift through the trees. Streams shimmer with floating lights, and constellations move slowly across a sky untouched by the moon. Unable to continue safely through unfamiliar terrain, Aang suggests making camp. Azula immediately objects. Then a distant roar shakes the forest. She changes her mind. As the fire burns between them, neither trusts the other enough to sleep. Instead, they talk. At first, the conversation consists only of arguments about the war. Aang insists that peace is still possible. Azula argues that peace exists only because someone is strong enough to enforce it. Slowly, the conversation shifts. Aang tells stories about racing sky bison through the mountains and learning from Monk Gyatso. Azula reveals almost nothing about herself, but she quietly admits that every hour of her childhood was scheduled. Royal tutors, firebending lessons, military strategy, court etiquette. There was never time simply to be a child. Aang cannot imagine such a life. Azula cannot imagine his. By dawn they have not become friends, but they have begun seeing one another as people rather than symbols. Chapter 5: Secrets in the Spirit World. Their journey leads them to the oldest part of the forest. There, beneath the roots of an immense tree older than civilization itself, sleeps an ancient guardian spirit. Its body resembles a magnificent stag woven from living wood and flowering vines. Rivers of golden light flow through its antlers like sap. The guardian explains that the barrier between the physical world and the spirit world has weakened because of the hatred consuming humanity. Every battle fought in the mortal world echoes here. The spirit does not claim that Aang and Azula are destined to love one another. Instead, it says they have been brought together because they represent two halves of an ancient imbalance. One believes freedom without control is enough. The other believes control without compassion creates order. Both are incomplete. Before they may return home, they must face a corrupted spirit born from generations of fear and war. The battle is unlike any either has fought. Fire cannot destroy it. Air cannot outrun it. Only by trusting one another long enough to combine their strengths do they succeed in purifying the spirit. When dawn reaches the spirit world, the guardian opens a shimmering path back to the physical world. Aang and Azula emerge in Black Pine Valley only moments after they vanished. To everyone waiting outside, no time has passed. But for the two of them, one night has changed everything. Part 2. Cracks in the crown. The strongest armor is often the easiest to crack, not because it is weak, but because it was never meant to bear every burden alone. The spirit world leaves no visible scars. No one outside the forest knows what happened. To Team Avatar, Aang simply vanished for a heartbeat before reappearing. To Mai and Ty Lee, Azula disappeared in a flash of green light and returned as calm and composed as ever. Neither group realizes that for Aang and Azula, an entire night passed. Neither speaks of it. Yet something has changed. The memories of glowing forests, ancient spirits, and impossible conversations linger in quiet moments. Aang finds himself wondering why Azula seemed so different when no one else was watching. Azula, despite every effort to dismiss the experience, cannot silence the questions planted by the spirit world. For the first time in her life, certainty begins to crack. Chapter 6. My Notices. The Fire Nation cruiser cuts across the eastern coastline beneath a sky heavy with rain. Azula spends hours alone on the observation deck, reviewing maps of the Earth Kingdom and planning her next move. She tells herself the spirit world was merely another battlefield, another obstacle overcome. Yet she finds herself pausing over the place where the forest should be. She remembers the old guardian spirit's words, not because she believes them, because she cannot explain them. My notices first. She has known Azula long enough to recognize the smallest changes. Azula still trains relentlessly. She still issues flawless commands. She still punishes mistakes without hesitation. But now, every so often, she grows silent, not calculating, thinking. One evening, Mai finds Azula standing alone in the rain rather than inside, studying military reports. Instead of confronting her directly, Mai casually asks if the Avatar escaped because Azula underestimated him. Azula immediately denies it. Her answer is sharp enough to end the conversation. Yet after Mai leaves, Azula remains outside. The rain hides the fact that she has not moved for nearly an hour. Elsewhere, Team Avatar rests in a quiet Earth Kingdom village. The people celebrate the Avatar's arrival, believing his presence alone brings hope. Aang smiles for the children, but his thoughts drift back to the spirit world. He wonders whether Azula remembers it too. Chapter 7. Questions without answers. Ty Lee quickly notices something Mai already suspects. Azula has stopped sleeping. Late at night, she finds her friend alone in the ship's training hall, practicing lightning generation beneath flickering lanterns. Bolt after bolt strikes the copper targets, each one perfect. Yet Azula never seems satisfied. Ty Lee gently asks whether something happened inside the forest. Azula freezes for the briefest moment. Then she calmly replies that nothing happened. Ty Lee smiles. You blinked. Azula says nothing. Meanwhile, Aang confides in Katara during a quiet evening beside a river. He tells her only part of the truth, that he became separated from Azula and encountered spirits unlike any he has ever seen. He leaves out the conversations, the campfire, the promise. Katara notices the omissions immediately. She asks whether Azula tried to hurt him. Aang hesitates before answering. No. Katara's expression hardens. That doesn't mean she's changed. Aang agrees. But privately he wonders why Azula never attacked when she had countless opportunities. The question follows him into his dreams. Chapter 8 Echoes of Fire. Fire Lord Ozai summons Azula back to the capital to report on her failure. The audience chamber is colder than she remembers. Ozai does not shout. He never needs to. Instead, he calmly asks why the Avatar escaped. Azula explains the strange phenomenon in the mountains without mentioning the spirit world. Ozai dismisses it as irrelevant. The Avatar still breathes. His disappointment is almost imperceptible. For Azula, it is devastating. She leaves determined never to fail again. Later that evening she trains harder than ever before. Lightning cracks across the palace courtyard. Each strike echoes through the night. But every flash reminds her of emerald light instead of blue fire. For the first time, her concentration falters. A single bolt misses its target. The royal instructors exchange nervous glances. Azula has never missed before. She dismisses everyone immediately. No one speaks of it. Far away, Aang meditates beneath a waterfall. Instead of finding peace, he hears the guardian spirit's final words echoing inside his mind. Balance is not agreement. Balance is understanding. He cannot decide what the spirit meant. Chapter 9 Crossing Paths. Weeks later, fate draws them together again. Team Avatar stops in a mountain town devastated by recent Fire Nation raids. The people need food, medicine, and help rebuilding their homes. Aang insists on staying. Unknown to him, Azula has tracked Appa's movements once again. This time she does not attack immediately. Instead, she watches from the surrounding cliffs. She observes the Avatar carrying timber for damaged houses, entertaining frightened children with airbending tricks, and helping elderly villagers rebuild stone walls. It makes no tactical sense. Every hour spent helping civilians delays his escape, yet he never complains. Azula cannot understand it. When Team Avatar finally leaves the village, Azula confronts Aang alone at sunset. Their battle is brief. Neither fights with the same intensity as before. Instead, they test one another. Searching, watching. Aang asks whether she remembers the forest. Azula refuses to answer. Before either can continue, Fire Nation reinforcements arrive. Aang escapes. Azula watches him disappear into the clouds. She does not order pursuit. Chapter 10 The Cost of Mercy. Rumors spread across the Earth Kingdom that the Fire Nation has begun burning entire harvests rather than capturing them. Team Avatar races toward one such village. Azula receives the same reports. The commanding officer responsible has ignored direct orders. When she arrives, she discovers terrified civilians trapped between advancing soldiers and spreading flames. For a brief moment, she sees the situation exactly as Aang would. The people are not soldiers. They are simply afraid. Then Aang arrives. Without speaking, both begin rescuing villagers from collapsing buildings. The soldiers stare in disbelief as the Fire Nation princess and the Avatar unknowingly work toward the same goal. Once the civilians are safe, the commanding officer assumes Azula intends to reward him. Instead, she strips him of command for wasting valuable farmland and endangering Fire Nation resources. Her explanation is entirely strategic. She never admits compassion played any part. Aang hears every word. As their eyes meet across the burning fields, he realizes something important. Azula has not become a different person. She is still dangerous, still proud, still loyal to the Fire Nation. But beneath everything else, she made a choice. And choices, Aang believes, are where change begins. The chapter ends with Azula silently watching the smoke rise into the evening sky. For the first time since childhood, she asks herself a question she has never dared to consider. What if Father is wrong? Chapter 11, Letters Never Sent. The days following the village fire settle into an uneasy rhythm. Team Avatar continues its journey toward Ba Sing Se, stopping wherever people need the Avatar's help. Although Aang laughs with the children they meet and throws himself into rebuilding villages, his thoughts often drift back to Azula. He cannot understand why she spared innocent civilians, or why she had disciplined one of her own commanders instead of praising him. Katara notices Aang becoming quieter during the evenings. One night, while camped beside a slow-moving river, she asks him directly if something is bothering him. Aang insists he's fine, but after everyone falls asleep, he remains awake, staring into the fire. Unable to quiet his thoughts, he begins writing. He writes as if he were speaking to Azula, not because he plans to send the letter, but because he needs somewhere to place the questions that keep circling his mind. Why didn't you let those people burn? Were you always capable of kindness? Or did something change? Do you remember the spirit world as clearly as I do? He finishes the page, reads it once, then folds it carefully before placing it inside his satchel. He tells himself, no one will ever read it. Far away aboard the Fire Nation cruiser, Azula experiences something similar. She stands alone in her cabin, unable to sleep. A blank scroll lies open before her. Without thinking, she begins writing. Not to Ozai, not to Zuko, not to Ursa, to the Avatar. She writes only a single sentence. Why do you continue believing people deserve mercy when they repeatedly disappoint you? She stares at the words for a long time. Then, with a flick of her fingers, blue fire consumes the scroll until only ash remains. She tells herself it was foolish. Questions are weakness. Curiosity is distraction. Yet the words linger long after the paper is gone. The chapter closes with both Aang and Azula lying awake beneath the same stars, each wondering what the other is thinking, while neither realizes the other has done the exact same thing. Chapter 12, The Burning Throne. The story shifts to the Fire Nation capital. Azula is summoned before Fire Lord Ozai. The throne room is silent except for the crackling braziers that line the walls. Every servant lowers their eyes as she approaches. Even the royal guards seem tense in the Fire Lord's presence. Ozai wastes no time on pleasantries. Reports from across the Earth Kingdom lie scattered before him. Villages resisting occupation. Earth Kingdom forces regrouping. Rumors that the Avatar has inspired renewed hope. Ozai studies his daughter. You encountered the Avatar again. Yes, father. And yet he still lives. Azula remains perfectly still. The situation in the mountains was unexpected. Ozai dismisses the explanation with a wave of his hand. The unexpected is merely another obstacle. His golden eyes lock onto hers. You have always succeeded because you understand one truth. Azula says nothing. Ozai rises from the throne and slowly walks toward the great windows overlooking the capital. Mercy prolongs war. Compassion breeds rebellion. Victory belongs to those willing to do what others cannot. Each sentence lands like another lesson she has heard since childhood. Normally, she would accept them without question. Tonight, she remembers frightened villagers clutching their children. She remembers the guardian spirit. She remembers Aang refusing to abandon strangers he had never met. For the first time in years, a tiny doubt enters her mind. It lasts only a heartbeat, but exists. Ozai notices the hesitation. What are you thinking? Azula answers immediately. That I won't fail again. Ozai smiles. My daughter. She bows deeply before leaving the throne room. The moment the heavy doors close behind her, she exhales slowly. Outside, she finds Mai waiting in the palace gardens. Mai studies her expression. That bad. Azula forces her usual confident smile into place. No. Mai raises an eyebrow. You know, I've known you since we were children. That smile only appears when you're lying. For a brief second, Azula almost tells her everything. The spirit world, the guardian, the questions she can't answer. Instead, she simply says, "I'm tired." My nods. I know. No more words are needed. Ending of Part 2. The final pages shift back to Team Avatar. As Appa flies toward Ba Sing Se, Aang looks across the endless Earth Kingdom. Somewhere beyond those mountains, Azula is also moving toward the great city. Neither knows it yet, but Ba Sing's southeast will become the place where every choice they've made since the spirit world begins to collide. The chapter ends with a single line. The hunt was over. Now destiny would decide who found whom first. Thank you for watching Avatar. Flames of Balance here on AnimeFanTheory. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite scene? What do you think will happen next? And if you have ideas for future chapters, alternate storylines, or other anime fanfiction you'd like to see, leave them in the comments. I read every suggestion. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. Until next time, this is AnimeFanTheory, where imagination meets anime. See you in the next video.